Music. It's the love of music that brings us together. The love of music that forms the bond between us. For the next hour, join us for the love of music, presenting those aspects of music which excite, provoke, and inspire. Our host today is David Dubal, WNCN music director, pianist, educator, and writer on music. Here is David Dubal for the love of music.
This is David Dubal. Last week, Joseph Bloch was my guest, and we discussed everything from Rudolph Ganz to Greta Garbo's first film. Today we will discuss more because there is an endless amount to discuss of music and life with my friend Joseph Bloch, who we will have playing today Debussy Preludes, a sonatina by Jacques de Menage, and Ruth Crawford Seeger's Preludes. But first, hello, Jim.
Hello again.
How are you feeling?
Oh, happy as a lark.
I know that you just came in from teaching at the Peabody.
Yes, I go down there one day a week now. It's a marvelous, relaxing way to spend Tuesdays.
You take the Amtrak?
Amtrak from Rye and read a detective story and think about Mozart concertos, do a class and turn around and come back and do the same thing.
Do you ever practice silently on the train?
No, I'm afraid the other customers would think I was a little demented if I did.
Now, I know that you're going to be doing an Alcan Chopin article. Is it possible to write on the train?
I haven't tried that yet. I've just started doing this, but you inspire me. Maybe next week, that's a very good idea.
Well, I think that I would like to read the Alcan article. I know that, in fact, we discussed the fact that you made your thesis at Harvard.
At Harvard, many years ago.
And at Juilliard, where you taught piano literature for 35 years. The Iron Man of the piano literature, I call you.
Yes.
You had Ronald Smith there doing a class.
As a guest, yes.
And you have generally a good time. And we discussed last time that you have played in Asia and Japan. And where is your favorite place to play?
Oh,
New York?
No.
No favorite?
There are no favorite places.
Any favorite halls?
The one, when you mentioned this, the one that comes to mind is the small hall at the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam. One of the happiest experiences I ever had playing there. It's a beautiful hall. It inspires you to play your best. And the audience, wonderful. That was my first standing ovation. And so naturally I have a great affection for the small hall of the Concertgebouw.
Oh, and you know, it's a beautiful city, Amsterdam.
Yes.
Everyone loves that hall. You still then remember that standing ovation with great...
Oh, well, doesn't everybody?
I don't know. I never had one.
You will.
Okay, thank you. You have a CRI recording, CRI number 154, and it's interesting because it's a composer by the name of Jacques de Menage, and I know I have programmed this piece on the air that we're going to hear, but I don't really know anything about him. Did you ever meet this man?
Oh, yes. I knew him quite well. He was a wonderful man. First of all, he was a wonderful pianist. He came from a wealthy family. He was born I believe, in Cairo. The family was Hungarian and French, but they were dealers in Egyptian cotton. So he was at least raised in Cairo, and he studied with Emil von Sauer, and he was a great, Jacques de Menage was a great virtuoso pianist.
Really?
And he was an elegant gentleman. Somebody said he looked like two profiles pasted together. He was very, very thin. He had a beautiful, elegant wife who came from a banking family in Luxembourg. So they were terribly cosmopolitan, and they used to winter in New York.
You got to know him?
Yes.
And how did it happen you came to his music then?
Well, he never was at Juilliard as a teacher, but he was a great friend of many of the people on the faculty. He circulated widely in New York in a social way and used to play here annually, mostly his own music. So I met him through the various people at Juilliard, and he died. He was always in poor health when I knew him, and he died at a relatively early age. I believe when he was in his 50s.
Yes, it says 1905 to 1960.
And so his wife, as a memorial, planned this record for CRI, and several of us were involved. Joe Fuchs, the violinist, Lillian Fuchs, the violist, and I.
Well, this sonatina is a small little work, 7 minutes, but 4 movements, an allegro, scherzo, adagio, and a vivacissimo.
and a very nasty bit of goods pianistically.
Really?
He wrote marvelously for the piano, but hard.
And it's neoclassic in idiom?
It's French, yes, neoclassic, and sounds more like Roussel, I think. A little bit of Poulenc, a little bit of Roussel.
Well, I can't wait to hear it again, and let's do Jacques de Menache's Sonatina, written 1944-45. The artist, my guest today, the pianist, Joseph Bloch. Sonatina number 2, Jacques de Menache, the composer, the pianist, playing it, Joseph Bloch, who was here to discuss everything with me. And right after these messages, we will return. This is David Dubal. Joseph Bloch was here last week, and he is here this week. We're going to hear more music, but first I want to ask you about, give me some of the high points of your wondrous career at Juilliard, which you have decided at this year to terminate because you just said it was enough.
Yes, I think 35 years it's a good round figure.
Wonderful.
And
you taught a lot of piano literature to a lot of students.
well, yes, because there were 100 to 150 students each year, and 35 years.
They all came
adds
under
up.
your wing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any interesting experience that comes to mind this second?
Oh, well, it was filled with millions of interesting
Really?
experiences. And almost every week or every day had something. My first day, that's perhaps the most dramatic, because I came with fear and trembling to my first piano literature class at Juilliard. I was filled with virtuosi, and I sat down and played a piece of John Bull, and I turned to the class and I said, "Now, what is peculiar about this piece?" And one of them piped up and said, "You're pedaling." So if I could survive that.
My goodness. Was that because you shouldn't have been using a pedal in John
Who
Bull?
knows? Everything just went black at that point.
Well, these people can really get you at times.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And they knew I was vulnerable.
And you never know who's going to come up to you and say, well, I play all the 32 sonatas. How old are you? Oh, well, I'm 19.
Mm-hmm.
They're amazing, and they're from all over the world, aren't they?
That's right.
But you had great fun doing it.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. And now you are doing it at Peabody.
Just one simple graduate course 1 day a week in Mozart concertos.
Mozart concertos are almost like an obsession with you, right?
No,
no?
I wouldn't say that. It makes a very good course, because with Mozart concertos, every one is a masterpiece. You don't have any dull moments or slightly inferior works.
Do you play them all?
No. But one good thing about doing a course of this sort, every year when I do a course, I learn one piece, at least one piece of the topic that I'm covering.
Really?
So that way, since I've done the Mozart concerto class about 5 or 6 times, I've learned about 5 or 6 Mozart concertos.
Extraordinary. Now, I saw recently a brochure that you were doing wonderful things in Hawaii this summer. You were lecturing on the Debussy Prelude, some Scriabin. Tell me about that experience.
Yes, that was a romantic piano festival at the University of Hawaii, and some separate organization called InterArts sponsored. It was the first time they'd done anything like this, and they had 3 pianists, Martin Cannon and Thomas Schumacher and myself, and we each did a recital and did master classes and lecture recitals. And, of course, being in Hawaii in June, the weather was perfect. Everything was perfect.
Is it always like 74 degrees?
Yes, and
Really?
it can be wet, but it wasn't when we were there. We brought the best of everything.
I wonder how Scriabin would have felt, Jim, knowing his works were being played in Honolulu.
Oh, it was just made for Scriabin.
Yeah.
All those orchids falling over the piano.
What did you play?
Well, I did 5 lecture recitals, and one of them involved Scriabin. I did the 5th and the 9th sonatas, and then some shorter pieces.
So hard, those pieces, aren't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
but everything's hard.
And there you need a lot of pedaling. Everything is hard, yes. What does that mean? People say this, but, they never really analyze it. Everything is hard.
Because everything takes concentration. I mean, we're talking about well, I
Piano.
suppose yes, but since piano is what we're involved with, but playing any piece on the piano, seemingly the simplest piece, the first prelude of the Well-Tempered Clavier.
Yes.
There's so many millions of ways you can do it.
And do it poorly. It's not...
Well, it's rather hard to do it poorly, I think, because that piece permits so many different possible tempos, not at the same time,
Yeah.
but it works as a fast piece, works as a slow piece, a staccato piece, a legato piece, soft, loud.
It works.
It works.
It even works not so well with Gounod's melody above it.
Well, we're not talking about that.
No. I would like to say that the brain, though, sometimes gets in the way of a performance.
Oh, yes.
The chattering begins, and then, where am I? That's fear when that happens.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Do you still have fear when you come to the stage?
Oh, it gets worse. with
How
age,
come worse?
I don't know. I suppose everything gets worse as you get older.
The standards are higher, you think?
Seriously, I think that's a very important consideration.
I know we just heard the Menage, and you said, oh, I don't want to hear it. I think it's a little too slow here and a little too fast.
That's a private, that's between us. You're airing it on the air.
No,
but it's true.
It's private, yes, but so many pianists that I've had on this program say the same thing, and that they don't really want to hear their records.
Don't.
We change even our tempi change from our in our own nervous system.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're going to hear a recording you did also on CRI, which is a very important recording because this woman is a major composer, really. 1953, Ruth Crawford Seeger, and we're going to hear 6 through 9 of her piano preludes. She just wasn't prolific, was she?
No, I wouldn't call her a major composer for that reason. She was considered one of the great American talents, but she wrote only for about a 5-year period between around 1925 and 1930.
And the major composers actually are prolific, aren't they?
Yes. Mm-hmm. What she did was, everything she did was of high quality, but then there was this long period when she wrote nothing, and then just the last year or so of her life she returned to composition.
Well, these are the late works? No, these are from
these
the
are
1920s.
Early, yes. And really these are just sketches. Her whole piano output is only 9 preludes and that one study in mixed accents.
Well, then you can get...
And these preludes are really sketches, I would say, rather than complete pieces. 5 of them have never been published.
So you can get her complete output on CRI 247.
Right.
Okay. Let's hear Joseph Bloch in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th preludes by Ruth Crawford Seeger. You've just heard Preludes 6 through 9, very intense works by Ruth Crawford Seeger, played by Joseph Bloch. Right after this message, we will talk more about the piano literature and his career. My guest, Joseph Bloch. Joseph Bloch, we are back. We can talk about anything you want. We can talk about Vladimir Horowitz. We could talk about Garbo. We could talk about sushi.
No, you have to feed me something. Let's talk about travels, because that's the most interesting part of my career, I think, has been
17
traveling.
tours to the Orient
I don't know,
alone. Have you been in
150.
New Zealand, too?
Yes. Oh, I lived in New Zealand. I was there for a semester taking over the class of the head of the piano department at the University of Auckland. Well, I've been to New Zealand twice. I'd been there a few years before. Then, on the basis of that, they invited me back to take over Janetta McStay's piano class. And so I lived in New Zealand for 4 months. And while I was based at the University of Auckland, I toured all over the country, playing constantly.
Beautiful
I
country.
love New Zealand.
Australia, have you been there?
Briefly, I was only in Sydney at the Sydney Conservatorium.
You gave a master class?
Yes. At
Responsive?
a lecture recital. Yes, I don't have I was only there for a few days, and so I don't have a strong impression, except that Sydney was a beautiful city too. But I really can't say that I know Australia, or I haven't really toured Australia.
Where did you play the Roussel piano concerto?
Oh, well, that was with the Indianapolis Symphony, Fabian Savitsky, way back about 1950.
Well, that's a famous American city. Did you ever appear in Bangkok?
Oh, yes.
Really?
At Chulalongkorn University.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Well, Bangkok, the piano wasn't, and Bangkok was terribly hot. Of course, Bangkok is picturesque. Yes, I've played in
South Korea?
Yes.
Really?
I was thinking of more
China?
even more. Yes.
What's the most exotic place there?
Well, Tonga, perhaps.
Where is it?
It's the last great Polynesian kingdom, Tonga. Don't you remember Queen Saloti of Tonga, who went to Queen Elizabeth of England's coronation?
Vaguely,
this beautiful 6 foot or 7 foot tall Queen of Tonga. Well, when I got to Tonga, she was dead, but her son, who was also large. All the Tongans get very large.
Really?
And, well, now I'm exaggerating because I was in Tonga, and they don't have official piano recitals. But I was actually trapped in Tonga because there's only one plane that goes there. And the plane
Trapped
broke
in
down.
Tonga could be a wonderful title for a movie.
Well, as a matter of fact, my whole experience in Tonga could be. But I was killing time driving around the island, a little broken-down car, and the driver said to me, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a pianist," not thinking he would know what a piano was. He said, "Would you come to my house and play on our piano?" His wife had been trained to play hymns by the missionaries, and so for their 50th wedding anniversary, her family had bought her a little upright piano, which had to be shipped in from Fiji. And the piano had just arrived, and here was this longhouse, in which several families live, a great big structure, very, very long, a longhouse divided into cubicles, one to a family. And so I played on the little upright piano, and everybody danced around. I played some little Chopin pieces and things like that. And finally, they invited me to stay for a luau afterwards. That was my fee.
How wonderful. Last week we discussed the fact you taught music appreciation in Guam.
Yes.
Now I find you in Tonga.
Yes, there's something about the Pacific that draws me to it, I guess.
So you really you're a traveler. You're a
Yeah,
romantic.
I love to
You
travel.
love the exotic. You love
That's right.
adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever have any peculiar happenings on stage? Someone told me in La Paz they needed oxygen between the movements of the Brahms F minor sonata.
Yes, some of them I can't tell over the air. Some of them deal with unmentionable topics, things that happened on stage.
What
but
could
I remember,
happen on stage? The ceiling could fall in, or the rain?
Oh, things involving small animals, for
Really?
example. Well, I do remember playing in northern Japan in an unheated hall where everybody in the audience, of course, was wearing their coats. And literally, when you pressed the keys of the piano down, cold air would come up between the cracks. So I was complaining, and they brought me bowls of hot water, which they put around the piano, and in between movements or in between pieces, I could dip my fingers into the bowls of hot water and then start playing again.
Fabulous. That is wonderful. We're going to hear you play again, and it's from a live recital you did in Victoria this summer. Debussy is a composer that you've lectured about. You've played a great deal. We're going to hear what? Preludes 1
through
4?
Or was it 2 through 4?
Well, let's try 2 through 4. What's 2? What's the
Dead Leaves.
Dead Leaves. What are these names in Debussy's works? They seem so sometimes exotic and programmatic.
Well, they of course are very important to what the music is all about. But as you know, in the preludes, he put the titles at the ends of the pieces because he said the music comes first.
Yeah.
And so I think of the titles as more like performing indications, along with allegro or vivace or whatever. So there's a certain kind of atmosphere that you try to create, which the title is the clue to. Some of the titles are very enigmatic.
Yeah. Playing all over the world, you have encountered pianos which must be unbelievable.
Oh, yes, but you get used to that.
Yeah. Yet Debussy is a composer, you really need a good piano to make him work.
Oh, yes.
So you don't program him, let's
That's
say,
right.
in Fiji or...
What you do, if the piano is really impossible, then you change the program.
Mm-hmm. So you've been able to instantly do things like that. Just that's it.
Not happily, but...
Mm-hmm. Okay, we've just heard about Dead Leaves. Number 3 is titled...
La Puerta del Vino.
Oh, that's a famous one. And that ranks Debussy as a great Spanish composer,
yes,
too.
One of his several Spanish pieces.
And then the third one?
The third one is a quotation, the fairies are exquisite dancers, which is curiously a quotation from J.M. Barrie. You don't associate Barrie and Peter Pan with Debussy, but Debussy was a great Anglophile, and there's several of the preludes that have English or British Isles suggestions.
Yes.
And this is actually based, a paragraph, this quotation is from a paragraph in Peter Pan in Kensington Gardens, which was a sequel to J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan. And Peter Pan in Kensington Gardens was a little book with illustrations by Arthur Rackham. And one of the illustrations is the fairies are exquisite dancers. So the Debussy prelude is either a quote or a suggestion of the text or of the Rackham illustration.
Wonderful. You did it again, Jim. I learned something.
You
wonderful.
knew it already.
2, 3, and 4 from the second book of Debussy's preludes, composed probably around 1911, right?
Actually, they were composed somewhere between 1910 and 1913. They were published in 13.
The artist, my guest today, in a live performance, Joseph Bloch. You have just heard 3 Debussy preludes in the hands of Joseph Bloch, master pianist, master teacher, and my guest today, and we will return with more conversation right after these messages. Joseph Bloch is my guest today. We are talking about his travels, and they have been extensive. You're a wanderer. You play the piano worldwide. You have a lot of fun. Who are the musicians that have influenced you most? Not necessarily just pianists.
Oh, now that's a tough one.
It is, I know.
Though, again, the first reaction, I think of singers.
Mm-hmm.
I think of someone like Milanov for that marvelous sound. Tapering of phrases.
Pache.
Yes.
Oh, just floats.
And, of course, everybody was influenced by Maria Callas.
What did she have, Jim, that makes everyone say that? I mean, they love her voice and were highly influenced by her.
Not the voice itself, because
the artistry.
Yes, exactly, and the intensity, the command, the intelligence. You felt that every moment in a recitative had been thought out, but then had been absorbed, so that it came out naturally. Her master classes at Juilliard were one of the great experiences of my life. It's very hard to give a master class in public, something that will interest both the public and be valuable to the students. But she had this knack, and she was kind, which was rather a surprise. You expected her to be difficult and with the students, but she was very understanding. She demonstrated marvelously, and what she said to the students was useful to them, but also compelling when you were sitting out there in the audience.
So
what
she had the great teacher in her, too.
Absolutely.
How wonderful.
It's a great tragedy she didn't continue to do that.
Yeah, and that made a sensation, those classes, no doubt about
Yes.
it. And they weren't filmed that I know of, were they?
I'm not sure. Yes, it seems to be in some of those Callas specials that they've had on TV. There were at least excerpts from the Callas classes.
I see. So many pianists do say that singers are important to them. Chopin, of course, did.
Yes.
Horowitz does. Rubinstein did. Shaliapin was the idol of Rachmaninoff. And yet the piano is hardly a vocal instrument, but you try to make it one.
Exactly,
Is that it?
Yes. And even going back to Mozart, Mozart's relationships with singers, and that seems to be the ideal in beautiful Mozart playing, that it's always vocal.
Yes. Well, we're going to hear another one of your recordings. It's by a composer by the name of Maves, and we're going to hear 2 movements, and interestingly enough, it's an aria. He wants you to sing in this, doesn't he?
That's right.
And then it's followed by another movement, a canon.
Which is a great virtuoso piece.
Well,
we'll see.
Maves is a composer that's living right now.
Yes, he's at Rutgers University, I believe.
He's a very nice man. And in fact, he's been a guest on this show.
Oh?
Yes. And I heard that you never met him.
I did not meet him until, I think, just last year for the first time. Our relationship was sort of like Tchaikovsky and Madame von Meck. It was all by correspondence.
It's wonderful. Here you are.
By the time I was learning the sonata and recording it, it was just not possible. We corresponded, but that was all.
And yet you're in Manhattan and he is in New Jersey and you couldn't get together. Well, it's wonderful. I hope he likes your performance. I'm sure he does.
He said he did.
Uh-huh. Well, it's quite a good work. And we're going to, on another program, hear the whole 4-movement sonata, but now just the aria and the 3rd movement. Oh, I love that work. It's by Robert Maves. It's the second and third movement of a four-movement work, Sonata for Pianoforte, and Maves is a composer born in Wisconsin in 1920. The artist playing it, a wonderful pianist, Joseph Bloch, and you have been a great friend to contemporary music. It's unbelievable how much you have done in your lifetime, not only of the standard repertory, but of composers just really needing performances.
Well, it's been rewarding.
Now, we have a few more minutes. How did you get involved in contemporary music, knowing your love for every aspect of the piano literature?
Well, I think I can trace that back to Rudolf Ganz, my marvelous teacher in Chicago, who was always a great champion of new music, and somehow he encouraged me to do that.
So there's a sense of responsibility as well. Yeah. Too few performers today have that sense of responsibility, I think.
Well, I find the older I get, the more I retreat to the 19th and the 18th century.
Is that because you think the quality is better, or
no?
What?
Really, contemporary music now demands so many new techniques. There's a whole new kind of notation that you have to master, and I think it's time to pass the torch on to somebody else to do that.
Well, the time has certainly passed on these two programs, Joseph Bloch, and it's been wonderful seeing you here, and thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And this is David Dubal. Thank you for listening.
For the Love of Music, with today's host, David Dubal, WNCN Music Director. We hope you'll be with us when once again we meet to listen and exchange ideas, all for the love of music. For the Love of Music is produced by WNCN New York, GAF Broadcasting Company.
Thank you.